From knowledge to homes and being a bro. Hello, Magi here, and welcome back to another episode of Interesting Touhou Facts, the series where I talk about facts from Touhou that I find either fun, unusual, or simply interesting. So without further ado, let's begin the Interesting Touhou Facts number 63. Number 5. So last episode, I talked about Kagero and how she's much calmer than what you would expect from a werewolf, meaning she won't tear your throat out in 2.5 seconds. The unique thing about Kagero is that she's the first werewolf in a remotely traditional sense to appear in the series. To be fair, I think she's the only werewolf in the series. Wait a minute, I did forget about the wolf tengus. Are they considered werewolves? They certainly look like it. I'll just say yeah. Another thing to note is that she has a serious dislike of how hairy she get on a full moon, making her normally less aggressive than most werewolves. I've never thought of this before until now. I can't imagine what it's like to grow a bunch of hair during a full moon and then have it all gone later on. It does sound like a pain in the ass, especially if you're wearing bulky clothes. You're going to be a walking sauna. Number 4. As you guys may know, Sanae is a goddess. Not only that, she's living with 2 other goddesses as well, Kanako and Suiko. Now in Forbidden Scrollery chapter 22, Sanae comes to the Hakari shrine and talks with Reimu and Marissa. In their discussion, it's mentioned that there has been a lot of snake attacks at the village. From this, Reimu suspects Sanae to be a culprit since the Moria shrine has a snake god, aka Suiko, and her control of the Misaguchi, which are curse gods. Off topic, Hina's got some competition it seems. Alright, back to the main part. Sanae explains that they would never do it as it would hurt their reputation. Yeah, I can imagine less people coming to pray and stuff if they knew you were the one causing their suffering. Marissa believes Sanae can easily fix that because she's a snake expert, but it appears that Sanae is on the same boat as the girls and she has no solution at the moment. Although Sanae can do a cool impression, but Reimu ain't taking any of this bullshit right now. This goes to show that just because you know a snake goddess doesn't mean you'll have the same knowledge about snakes. Number 3. As you may know, many of the girls have spell cards with them so they can challenge someone to a spell card duel when need be. Now some have barely any, and some aforementioned mind-reading yokai have way too many spell cards in their possessions, maybe more spell cards than an entire cast in a different game. Needless to say, they're important. Miko here is different as she's one of the 2 final bosses since the spell card system was introduced not to have either 5 or 6 spell cards, not including Kaguya's last spell card. That could be due to the fact that the girls in Imperishable were the only ones to have the last spell card system. Now how many does Miko have? 7, which is still tied for the most amount. Now you may be asking who's tied with Miko. That would be our latest final boss, Junko. As of now, Junko has 7 spell cards as Miko. We could technically say Junko has more as she shows up in the extra stage boss fight, but this section is relegated to final boss fights. Well, looks like our modern Miko and pissed off mother have something in common. Number 2. Now Kozuzu runs a bookstore. It wouldn't have been anything important except some of those books or Yoma books or books written by yokai. When dealing with Yoma books, it is of no surprise she's dealt with a few crazier things than most humans in the village has dealt with. Anyway, one of these particular instances marks Kozuzu as being a particularly awesome bro. Let me explain. So this case happens in chapter 18 and 19 in Forbidden Scrollery. It begins at the school and many of the kids are surrounding a specific area. We learn that there are some writing on the wall. Akio was able to decipher a few of them but not all. She suspects it's written in fox language, meaning yokai. The news of yokai being in the school where the children are does not sit well with people, so they call in an expert, Reimu, to help them figure it out. Let's just say this fox is more slick than Reimu assumed. To close the story out quickly for the sake of time, Reimu wasn't the one to figure this little incident out but Kozuzu. Kozuzu learnt that the writing on the door was due to the fox not having anything else to write down. Kozuzu was able to make some ofudas that were actually advertisements for her store that only yokais can read. The fox was able to go to Suzanon and get some empty notebooks by exchanging its previously filled out notebook, which benefited both parties. The reason Kozuzu is a bro is because she could have easily informed Reimu who the culprit was after the advertisement, but didn't, and in fact made a deal that helped it out. Goes to show you not every yokai needs to be exterminated. Number 1. So we just talked about Miko, meaning it wouldn't hurt to talk about the place she's been living as it has some interesting things to note. Senkai, translated to Hermit World, is a sealed secret world suited for hermits, which even Gensokyo did not know of before the event of 10 Desires. According to Miko, during the first part of the symposium between her, Kaneko, and Byakuren, it's a space that Miko had created herself. A location where nobody else can bother someone is well suited for hermits. When being in your own room does not suffice, you can always make another world, according to Miko. Little is known about the geography of Senkai. It's accessed via the principle that any crack contains limitless space which connects the world to any other location, allowing it to be accessed from anywhere. Weird, but at least it's explained. For example, Miko showed Reimu a way to get to it by pointing to a crack in the ground. Reimu sarcastically replied by asking if Miko was an ant. The residence isn't off limits to those seeking shelter from yokai, but the hidden nature of the entrances tends to make that option not particularly viable. Yeah, I can imagine so, given the description of how to get to said place. Both Reimu and Sanae's ending in 10 Desire, which mentions Senkai, explicitly state that Miko and her followers, the rest, moved to Senkai, and Miko refers to it as our home to Reimu. Miko and her followers built a dojo suited for hermits in Senkai after the events of 10 Desires to be their home. The building was described by Reimu in the extra stage backstory as pretty big and shiny. It is not explicitly confirmed if Senkai is their actual canon action after 10 Desires, however, but no other information contradicts it. Symposium has Miko describing her current residence as a special location outside of Gensokyo suitable for hermits, which seems to match Senkai's description. Symposium states that Seiga isn't particularly close to Miko and Futo, but does not state if she shares the residence. In page 23 of Forbidden Scrollery, chapter 3, Reimu and Marissa are shown briefly visiting Seiga, Futo, and a third person who's likely Yoshika, from what little you can see of her, in a building, but it is not shown where this location is. There aren't even any point indicators to show where it is on the map on the page, unlike the Scarlet Devil Mansion or the Human Village. As of Hopeless, Miko has constructed a Taoist temple within Senkai known as the Divine Spirit Mausoleum. It welcomes humans aspiring to become hermits, but most of them fail the necessary training. It shares its name within the area in stage 6 of 10 Desires, but it is unknown if they're intended to be the one and the same. A hermit's dream, or something like that anyway. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Which facts were your favorite? Would you hate to be a werewolf due to having a bunch of hair growing during a full moon? Do you think Kozuzu is a real bro helping out that yokai? Or would you like to join Senkai and the fellow hermits? If you guys enjoyed this episode, please give it a like and subscribe. Or else the fox yokai will write on my walls. And if you recall, there's a lot of posters, so yeah. Either way, this is Magi and thanks again for watching.